North Carolina's special session at the General Assembly failed to repeal the state's controversial bathroom bill Wednesday. The bill required transgender people use the bathroom according to the sex listed on their birth certificate. Opponents call that rule, quote, discriminatory. The controversy led to several businesses pulling out of the state and may have cost outgoing Governor Pat McCrory his job. He called the special session when both sides agreed to work for a repeal, but the deal fell apart after the GOP added a 6-month moratorium on cities passing non-discrimination ordinances for LGBT people.
The legislature had a chance to do the right thing for North Carolina, and they failed.
We had a great opportunity, I think, to do some good work.
The new governor will take office in North Carolina next year.
The nearly 6-minute cell phone video shows an unidentified Fort Worth police officer arresting Jacqueline Craig. As he pins the mother to the pavement, he threatens others with what appears to be a taser. The officer arrests 2 more people, both of whom are Craig's teenage daughters.
And I recorded everything you just did. When you kicked up, it was recorded. Okay, you're going to jail soon. I don't give a.
That's why I felt it was the need to record it. Because that could have been anybody. And that couldn't have been his taser that he pulled out. That could have been his weapon. And he could have shots.
Craig and her daughters were released from custody on Thursday.
I just felt like I didn't get justice for what I called for.
Craig says she called police to report a neighbor grabbing and choking her son after the 7-year-old allegedly littered in the man's yard.
Why don't you get your son not to litter?
He can't prove to me that my son littered. But it doesn't matter if he did or didn't. It doesn't give him the right to put his hands on it.
Why not?
Because he died.
The incident escalated when Craig's 15-year-old daughter stepped in between her and the officer. In a statement, the Fort Worth Police Department says it enjoys a close and cooperative relationship with our citizens, one of transparency, mutual trust, and respect. The department expects every officer to treat persons they encounter with that same trust, respect, and courtesy.
A House committee found the abortion industry may be illegally profiting off the sale of baby body parts. A select investigative panel released 15 criminal and regulatory referrals to federal, state, and local authorities Wednesday. The panel said they found evidence abortion clinics have sold fetal tissue and tried to cover it up. Chairperson Marsha Blackburn calls the findings disturbing and a misuse of power over vulnerable women. The referrals mark the end of a year-long probe into the abortion industry. An explosion went off outside the headquarters of a Christian lobbying group in Sydney, Australia Wednesday. A man driving a van with gas cylinders set off the explosion, injuring himself and blowing out the building's windows. Police say the attack was not politically motivated, but the Australian Christian lobby says they've received death threats for supporting traditional marriage. The head of the group, Lyle Shelton, is skeptical and said at a news conference, "You don't just drive around the corner here at 10 o'clock at night, park a van, load it with gas cylinders, then detonate it, unless you're trying to send a message to the ACL." Police said they were investigating the explosion and the threats against that group.
49-year-old Marlene is an events organizer at a public library in the Belgian city of Antwerp. She's been living as a woman since 2005, but has no plans to undergo gender reassignment surgery. Until now, that means she can't change her gender on official documents and is still registered as a man.
I decide. I need to decide for myself. I know who I am, not people telling me who I am. So I don't need a doctor telling me that I'm a woman, because I know what I am. And I don't need a doctor telling me that I can change my first name, because my first name is important to me, but not for the doctor.
A new law in Belgium is soon to make it possible for people like Marlene to change their gender legally without approval from doctors. The transgender bill is expected to pass through the Belgian parliament, but some rights groups say they want to get the proposal changed to remove the need for transgender people to contact support organizations.
The fact that you still have to have some proof that you were informed by a transgender organization, we think this is contradictory to the principle of self-determination. If you go for self-determination, just go for self-determination.
The transgender bill was proposed by two centre-right politicians, but has broad support across most parties here at the Parliament in Brussels. But the bill would allow children as young as 12 to change their names to fit their gender identity. Far-right groups say that's going too far.
It's completely crazy. It's not logical. It doesn't make sense. If you're still male, you put on your passport you're female. There should be an operation before it. It's common sense, common logic.
Marlene says she's looking forward to seeing the bill passed so that Belgium will officially recognise her gender identity.
Tonight, I believe that the Democrats will come out in a stronger position. We will, of course, retain the White House with the election of Hillary Clinton. I believe we will gain the United States Senate. It will be close, but we will gain the United States Senate, and we will pick up many seats in the House of Representatives. I believe that Hillary Clinton is one of the best prepared people in our history to enter the Oval Office with her vision, her knowledge, her experience, her strategic thinking, her connection to the American people, and I think she has made that case.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
Desperation and hubris. It's all the Democratic Party has left after being shown the door by the American people. Not the Russians, not a majority of racist, angry white male voters, and not fake news.
President Bill Clinton quoted in an op-ed piece in the Bergen Bound Bridge Record saying this, that a weekly newspaper in New York, about Donald Trump, by the way, one thing he does know is how to get angry white men to vote for him.
We know that 53% of white female voters voted for Trump. We know that the black community didn't come out for Hillary. We know that Hispanics actually came out for Donald Trump. And we know that white men came out for Donald Trump.
What do you tell Democrats who want a new direction and then go to you? What are you going to do differently?
Well, I don't think that people want a new direction. What we want is a better connection of our message to working families in our country, and that clearly in the election showed that that message wasn't coming through.
This is my America! This is my America!
Nate Silver, who's pointed out that swing state voters made their decisions in the final days, breaking against me because of the FBI letter from Director Comey. And Nate Silver believes, I happen to believe this, that that letter most likely made the difference in the outcome.
The Democrats did this to themselves with the sycophantic assistance of the media, saddled with firm directives coming from the DNC and the treasonous divide and conquer subversion of George Soros. Now, in the face of that defeat, the world fully sees the bitter arrogance and cult-like focus of the shattered Democratic Party, powerless yet still attempting to push American safety over a cliff.
On the morning of October 31st, the U.S. transmitted a message directly to the Kremlin, warning the Russians that the U.S. would consider any interference on Election Day a grave matter. The method of communication, the so-called red phone system. According to a senior U.S. official, part of the message reads, international law, including the law for armed conflict, applies to actions in cyberspace. We will hold Russia to those standards.
National security and public safety are the ultimate policy objectives. Director Brennan said ISIS has an external agenda they are determined to carry out. Another administration official said, I wouldn't put it past ISIS to infiltrate operatives among refugees, so that's a huge concern of ours. Those are not the words of some GOP presidential hopeful. Those are the words of our very own intelligence officials who serve this administration.
Donald Trump won 3,084 of the United States' 3,141 counties or county equivalents in the American heartland. For 8 long years, Washington, D.C. had disconnected itself from this massive base. And now it is the Democrats that are paralyzed by their own reckless avarice.
See, now we're feeling what not having hope feels like. It's like the toddler that bumps his head on the table, and they look up at you to figure out whether it hurts. And if you're like, oh my God, they're crying. But if you're like, you know what, babe, it's okay. It's okay. Barack has been that for the nation in ways that people will come to appreciate.
I mean, Russia has been hacking. But let's not talk on top of each other, Christine. The audience, Christine, woohoo!
members of Congress who've seen it can talk about some of it?
I'm asking you not to talk on top of me when I'm talking, and I won't do that to you, so that our audience can actually get something out of this interview. But just the way the voters couldn't get anything, and they ended up voting against you, that's what you're doing. You're basically blowing off the audience.